What is going on, guys? Thank you so much for tuning into yet another episode of Yards Per Fantasy. I am your host, Kevin Brumley, and I am joined by two of my coworkers over here at Yards Per Fantasy. Z, what's going on, man?
Nothing much. Just got off work, and it's incredibly hot where I'm at right now.
Bro, I feel you. Today was my first day back as a teacher in the past, 5 months because of the quarantine, and I'm not feeling it. I think I'd rather just stay at home and play with the puppies all day. So, John, what's going on, man?
Not much, man. A little tipsy, a little drunk, but that's the way to be. I mean, it's 9:00 at night. What else am I going to do with my life?
YOLO. So thanks, guys, for tuning in yet again. And we are talking about overrated, underrated, and properly rated tight ends. So when I look at the tight ends, the top two are absolutely cemented. They're not going anywhere. And then when you look at 3, 4, 5, I think everyone's pretty much of a consensus. You have Andrews, Ertz at, that 3, 4, maybe you have them flipped. And usually most people have Waller at that 5 spot. Well, once we get past those 5, we start getting into a little bit more uncertainty, whether that's how you have them ranked or how people just generally feel about those players. And that's where I'm starting off right away is somebody that I'm higher on than I know Z is. And I get the downside of this young man, and that is the number 6 tight end who is going about 7.5, so a little bit behind the 6th overall, which is Evan Ingram. So, Z, started off. What is your gripe about Evan Ingram?
So I'm not really low on him. I think it's because I called Matt Breida the Evan Ingram of running backs. So I don't think I like Evan Ingram. I think he actually gets a bad rap. I was just messing. I think he gets a worse bad rap. He's actually played he's played a lot of games. I think he hasn't been. I don't think he's been injured that much. I looked at Evan Ingram. In his first year, he played 15 games, I think, and if any tight end has a shot at reaching that second tier, he can match Mark Andrews. I think he can get there. He has a legit shot at reaching 900 yards in a season, I think he has that shot. If he can play a full season or 15 games, I think he has a legit shot. I like where he's going. I take him over Hunter Henry and all those other guys beneath him. He averaged between 10.6 and 12.8 yards per reception. I believe each year he played, I think in the first year he played, he had 10.6, and then he steadily increased to 12.8, I think, if that's right. So I think if he stays healthy, I have him at – this is conservative. This is safe. I have him at 70 receptions, 750 yards, 6 touchdowns. He's better than the majority of tight ends going below him. I take him above all those tight ends, and I do believe he has a legit shot of getting into that second tier of legit tight ends. Better, he can outproduce Darren Waller. He can outproduce Zach Ertz if he stays healthy.
I like it. John, how are you feeling about Evan Ingram?
So I've kind of went back and forth on him a little bit, and because I've read something, I think Matthew Berry posted something about that they were trying to shop him and trade him away. So I was thinking, wow, the Giants must not believe in him, and I think we can all agree that he's a pretty freak of an athlete. He's just one of those tight ends that are just they're very hard to guard because of how athletic they are. So I then wanted to trade him. I was a little I don't want him at all this season. And then looking through when we decided to do this podcast, I was looking at him. He was the number 1 tight end through weeks 4. And then even I know everyone says he's injury prone. So even if you just extrapolate that out to 12 games, he still finishes as, hold on, I had it written down somewhere. Oh, the tight end 4. And that's only in 12 games. So if I can get that type of production through a tight end, I'm fine with that. Especially with this year, we don't know how many games people are going to be missing and everything. So I like Ingram. If I can get him on my team, I'm for it. But it's what round's he going in? The 6th round. That's a little early for me personally. But if you don't mind drafting tight ends around that round, I think he'd be the way to go. He's kind of that. I would take him over the 4 to 7 guys. So Yeah, I besides Kittle and Kelsey, I wouldn't draft anyone over him.
I like it. And so are you both going properly rated, or John, you might be leaning
I'm
underrated?
underrated a little bit. I would probably take him third or fourth tight end. But like I said, I don't draft tight ends early. But I would definitely say underrated, where I think he'll finish at the end of the season. Sorry.
No, you're good. And Z, are you saying properly rated?
Yeah, as far as among tight ends, I think he's properly rated. But I think I'm looking at his ADP right now on Fantasy Pros in PPR format, and it's got Tyler Boyd, Marquise Brown, Gallup, Ronald Jones going around him. So I'm not drafting him there. I would love to get him like maybe one round later. That would be perfect if I can get him in the 8th round.
Yeah, that's exactly how I am. If he falls to me, I'll take him all day.
Yeah.
When looking at Evan Ingram, like I said, I get the downside. I think excluding him kind of being a little bit beat up, I think the downside is he is an athletic freak, and he hasn't really shown out the way that you would hope for somebody of his athletic profile. I think if you look at every other tight end that isn't named Travis Kelce or George Kittle, I think he's the only guy with the skill set to get up into that maybe steal the second spot. He does have that ability. Now, do I think it's going to happen? Probably not. There's a reason, and it's undoubtable that Kelce and Kittle are the two best tight ends in the game, or even just fantasy if you just want to talk about fantasy. But Ingram is that guy, has that ability. But going 6th, I think I would just say properly rated. But I do see what John's saying. I could maybe see a little bit underrated, but I think I would say properly rated. Which brings me to my next guy, and I'll start this one off. And it's Tyler Higbee, who is rated the 7th tight end, who is going about 8th right now as far as tight ends. I don't like Tyler Higbee. I'm not sure why everybody's so high on Tyler Higbee. He had 4 really impressive games toward the end of the year. That's after Everett went out for the Rams. Just kind of speaking as far as that is, I don't know what about the Rams offense would make you believe they're going to be extremely high-powered, why they're going to feature Higbee in this offense as, we're taking him over somebody like, I'd rather have Hunter Henry. I think I'd rather have Hayden Hurst, maybe. You could argue me out of that one. I'd rather have Hooper. I'd rather have Cook. I'd rather take a chance on like a Fant or a Hawkinson. And honestly, I would rather take Gerald Everett at 29th as far as tight ends than I would rather take Tyler Higbee at 7. That's just me personally. Do you guys feel any different? John, you want to start that one off?
Yeah, I think we've talked about this before, but I'm right with you. I could never see myself spending a 7th round or 6th round pick, whatever he's going for Tyler Higbee. I mean, he was like the tight end 35 through week 12, and Everett was tight end 12. And just because Higbee had 4 great games. Yeah, they were killer games. All of a sudden he's getting drafted. And I know they signed him to that big contract, and I guess maybe money speaks. But to me, I'm not looking to draft him. They've never really thrown to the tight end that much. I mean, in 2018, him and Everett combined for 85 targets the whole year. So, I mean, what's the cap on his targets? I feel like maybe exactly that, like something like 80-something targets. I'm not looking to draft him, especially at that high of a price. But I'm with you. I like Everett better than him. So if I can draft Everett in the last round and just pick him up for a streamer, I'm down for it. I'm
with you. And Z, how you feeling?
Yeah, we're all in agreement here. I mean, in weeks 13 through 17, Tyler Higbee, he accrued 522 yards and 2 touchdowns. I believe in his talent. I like him as a player. But in those weeks, in week 13, he got 8 targets. Week 14, he got 11 targets. Week 15, he got 14 targets. And then he got 11 targets and 12 targets. So that's a lot of targets for a tight end. So if he's going to be receiving that amount of work and target distribution, I mean, I don't even know many top wide receivers that are getting that many targets a game in consistently back-to-back games. So he's going to have to either get those targets or be very efficient with half those targets, because say if he averages 10 targets a game, we're saying he's going to get 170 targets on the year. I just don't think. I like him. I hope they use him, the way everybody wants him to be used, the way his ADP reflects his usage going into the year. But I just don't believe in it.
No, and I'm with you. And I feel like that's a lot of people in the fantasy world. I hear that exact thing, and which makes me question, why Higbee's still the seventh rated tight end. Honestly, I'm not exactly sure about that one.
Yeah, can I add something to this real quick?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, that's what I'm almost. I alwast was thinking in like some leagues. I was like, maybe I'll play the contrarian and I'll just start trying to acquire Higbee or like try to be in real cheap or something because maybe other people see something I don't even know because I feel like everyone I talk to doesn't like him. But also, I don't know why I just saw this too, but they tried to trade him last year for a 6th round pick. If they think that's what he's worth, a 6th round pick, I have zero faith in him if his own team thinks that's what he's worth. And apparently Minnesota offered him a 7th rounder. So they don't have faith in him. I don't have faith in him.
I'll trade it. I'll trade that for him. I'll give a 6th round pick to somebody in our fantasy league. I'll definitely do that.
No, and which is going to bring me to my next guy. Once upon a time, he was the tight end 1. He's arguably, I don't have him as the best tight end of all time. I still go Tony G. But we're talking about a little Rob Gronkowski, man. It's Gronk. He's back, and he's about 50 pounds lighter. I'll talk about that here in a second. But Z, do you want to start this one off? How you're feeling about Gronk?
I'm not really. I can't do it this year. The ADP. I don't really think he's in return value on that ADP. We're hearing reports right now that OJ is playing in front of Gronk. Maybe that's just because he's still a veteran and they're trying to save his body. But if that's the case, the conditioning is also a factor too. He's taken a beating throughout his career. Saying that he's had a year off and that would be beneficial for him, it just doesn't. That kind of comment, that narrative doesn't work for me. That kind of reasoning doesn't work for me. I think he's going to be used in the red zone. I don't know if he's going to be used between the 20s. If Bruce Arians truly hates OJ Howard, the way he was treated last year, then fine. Gronk will be out there up and down the field. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm not going to take him where he's going right now. He's going at 79 at Fantasy Pros. So he's going right between Higbee and right between Higbee and Jared Cook. I'd rather have either of those guys. I'm just passing on it, and I'm taking other players around him as well. Any other wide receiver, running back going around him. I just don't want to. I just feel like I'm going to be playing with fire if I mess with Gronkowski. I
understand that completely. And John, how you feeling about Gronk?
Yeah, I'm same exact feeling. I mean, if his ADP was, I don't know, a few rounds back, maybe I try to take a stab at him in one of my leagues, just because it's Gronk. Well, he was the best tight end for 7-8 years. If you don't want to put him first, I completely understand that. He's at least easy top 2 or 3 tight ends of all time. So it's just, what do you think this last off year happened? Like, did it do his buddy good? Will he have to shake off some rust at the beginning of the season? Which is kind of what I'm leaning towards. I think I'm definitely going to let him sit because I think a lot of people will draft him and then drop him. And then you'll be able to pick him up midway through the season for a couple games here and there. I mean, nothing, but if they have a great matchup, why not? Maybe they're playing someone that has a tough cornerback and it'll be the other, like Evans and Gronk that are featured and they won't even worry about Godwin or something like that. Yeah, I'd look to stream him or something, but I'm not looking to draft him as ADP. It's way too high for me for Gronk this year.
Real quick, I want to Gronk is going right in front of Will Fuller. He's going where J.K. Dobbins is going, Jordan Howard's going, Brandon Cooks is going. He's going in front of Deontay Johnson. Do you really want to take Gronkowski over all those other guys just because you want to tight end that bad?
Oh, no.
Yeah. I don't know.
And I completely agree with you guys. And when I say Gronk's the second greatest tight end of all time, and I'm just going with longevity, Gronk is the most dominant tight end we've ever seen in football, and that's not close. Gronk at his peak is just like a human cheat code. He could not be stopped. I mean, it honestly just looked like a wild animal out on the field. With him being smaller, with him probably not being the run blocker, as I'm not sure of how many snaps he's going to get on the field as far as a true inline tight end. You might see him in the slot a little bit more just because his frame is a lot more slender. We're talking about a guy that's had a lot of surgeries. They still have OJ Howard. I do think the thing that Gronk has going for him is he has a great rapport with Tom Brady. We know Tom Brady loves him, right? And, we could see Brady lean on him a little bit, in tight games, maybe later in the season, which is why I 100% agree with John. If I can maybe trade for him cheap after the first handful of weeks of the season, because I do think he'll start out slow. If somebody cuts him, maybe I try to pick him up. But I'm not drafting him as the 13th overall tight end. And exactly what Z said, all those guys going around him, I'd much rather have their safer picks. Even I feel more safe about a Will Fuller pick, who's the ultimate wild card, than Rob Gronkowski. And go ahead, Z.
If I could play devil's advocate in providing a reason to draft Gronk to where he's going, I mean, if you think about that division where they're playing at, there's going to be plenty of shootouts. There's going to be a lot of high-scoring games. Vegas will have those games projected for, Saints, the Panthers, and the Falcons are in that division. I think anytime those teams are paired up with each other, there's going to be a lot of points scored on the board, and there might be some opportunity there for Gronk. So
that's good thinking.
That. Yeah.
No, you're right, man, and that's no doubt about it. Still just a little bit too rich for my blood, and that brings me to 3 guys that are right after this list that I kind of want to talk about, and I want you guys to kind of rank these 3 of how you view them. And that's T.J. Hawkinson, Noah Fant, and Jonnu Smith, who are all kind of, interesting, all have a lot of upside, and I feel like those 3 names are constantly coming out as maybe this year's Mark Andrews. That's who a lot of people are talking about. So that's the tight end 14, 15, and 16. So, for a 10-team league, they're probably not starting. How are you guys feeling about those 3, and could you rank them? John, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, man, I just want to say I did zero research on Jonnu Smith because I don't think you told me about him, so I'm a little shook right now. But no, in all seriousness, I like Hawkinson probably the best out of them, just because I think the Lions will be throwing the most, and I'd rather, with the volume, try to get – if I'm going to draft a tight end late, I'd rather him try to get the most volume and have the most targets rather than – some other aspects. I mean, Jonnu Smith and Noah Fant, yeah, they're as athletic as they come, but I'm just worried at how many targets that they'll actually see. I think like Noah Fant last year, yeah, he was a rookie, so it's hard to judge, but he's competing with even more talent on offense this year with Melvin Gordon, Jerry Jeudy, KJ Hamler. So I think his targets kind of cap out around that 75, 80 as well. And Hawkinson, I mean, Kenny Galladay and Marvin Jones, yeah, they'll get their targets. But, I mean, Damian Dola, I think he actually did see more targets than I think last year. He saw like 90-plus targets. But to me, I would put Hawkinson as their number 3 weapon. Or not weapon, but target. Because I don't know how their running backs will shake out. But I would take Hawkinson over those 2. I don't know. But the only thing that has me nervous with him is I think he just said his ankle isn't 100% healed. So then it's how hobbled will he be? Will he start out slow? I mean, is he going to re-injure it? But to me, I mean, the way Matthew Stafford started last year, if he's even close to that, I think all of the weapons on Detroit can almost exceed their ADP. I mean, like Galladay killed it with those backup quarterbacks last year. So, and Hawkinson, what did he finish last year? Do you know? Tight end 15? I think I have it right here. Yeah. Or that was just – I forgot. He got injured. That was before he was injured. Sure. I would take Hawkinson over the 3 just because I think he would have the most chance to get the most targets on this offense compared to the other 2.
Z, how you feeling? How are you ranking these guys?
I think I got to put Fant first because, I mean, if we're talking about tight ends that we're going to use in fantasy, I think – the benchmark for a usable tight end in fantasy is somewhere between 600 and 700 receiving yards and somewhere like around 5-8 touchdowns. I think Fant, he's most capable of doing that. And I'd honestly put Hawkinson up there, but I think the news that John was mentioning about him still being hobbled about on that ankle and still not being healed 100%, I think that's legitimate news and something to be wary of. Fant, he had his best comparable player on player profile is George Kittle. So that's something that sticks out right there to me. I think he's a very talented player. I think he can do a lot after the catch. He actually, gained a lot of yards. What was it? I saw an interesting stat over there on him. Okay, so Fant creates yards after the catch, right? So he got 300 yards after the catch, averaging 4.5 yards per target. That was 7th at the position. That's 7th at the position at yards after the catch. So I think he's a low floor, high ceiling just because Jerry Jeudy was over there. His average snap share last year was 68.2%. I think that probably increases. That's a safe floor for him. I can get into Fan a lot more about Jonnu Smith is one that I don't understand. I like Jonnu Smith as a player. They have their strength of schedule is 26th hardest according to Fantasy Pros, and I think we can all agree that they want to be a run-heavy offense. This is what you hear about the Titans every single time they're brought up. There's a run-heavy offense. Even when we're talking about A.J. Brown, is it reasonable where A.J. Brown is going? Are his expectations reasonable? If we're questioning A.J. Brown's expectations as a wide receiver one, I don't know what we're thinking when we're saying, okay, Jonnu Smith is going to be a productive tight end in the offense, because even with Delaney Walker out, he was averaging, I think, like 3 to 5 targets a game. And he finished with what did he finish with? Let me see. He finished with 439 yards. So he's going to need more targets. He's going to need more work to be a every week starting tight end. I think he's a tight end that you rotate with somebody like Noah Fant based on the matchup. And Hawkinson, yeah, I love him. He was my he's one of my favorite prospects coming out of Iowa. But I think his counterpart Noah Fant, coming out of the same school, is going to have to be going higher than him this year. I trust Noah Fant the most out of those guys. So it's Fant. It's Fant, I guess. Fant, Hawkinson, and Jonnu Smith for me.
Yeah, and this is tough because they all offer different upsides. When we talk about Evan Engram being an athletic freak, I think Noah Fant's that other guy in the league that's like wows you with his athletic ability. TJ Hawkinson's like, I'm going to use the same player for Jonnu Smith and TJ Hawkinson. So I think Hawkinson is like a rich man's Heath Miller as far as athletic ability. And I think Jonnu Smith's kind of like a poor man's Heath Miller, which isn't bad because I think they can both do more than just catch. I don't think either of them they're in line kind of classic tight ends more so than the modern day split end tight end, right? I like Hawkinson the most as far as a prospect of all three of these guys. It really does worry me that he's not 100%. And you know, that's just maybe that lingers into the season and one hit and it goes from, you know, being 90% down to 75%. That always scares me, especially when you're a tight end, you're constantly getting rolled up on, you're constantly getting beat up on. You know, you don't really want to have a lower body issue. I do worry about Noah Fant with so many players around him. There's so many mouths to feed in Denver. You know, I don't even think anybody's mentioned Cortland Sutton yet. You know what I mean? When we talk about Jeudy and KJ and Lindsey and Gordon, and like there's just a gluttony of talent over there in Denver. So I am a little bit apprehensive on Noah Fant, even though he does have tremendous, you know, upside. And I think Jonnu Smith kind of brings the middle, where yes, the Titans do run a ton, but they do like to play action. And if I'm a defense and I'm playing the Titans, one, I'm putting 8 in the box almost every play to stop Derrick Henry, and I'm keeping one single high safety to help out my corner when A.J. Brown runs a deep post, like always. That's how I'm playing them. So I do think Jonnu should have his opportunities. He's always going to be on the field because they're a run-heavy team. So I think he brings a little bit of more consistency than a Noah Fant, but he doesn't nearly have the upside as a Noah Fant. I'm going to rank them Hawkinson because I think he's kind of the middle of the two as far as he doesn't have the upside as Fant, but he's definitely safer than Jonnu Smith. You know what I'm saying? And then I would go, and it's really tough for the last two. I think I would go Fant just because of his upside. You know, it's always enticing. Then I'd go Jonnu Smith. But it is interesting, and I think Z brought up a good point of, you know, Jonnu did get a ton of snaps last year and didn't really produce a ton. But he also played with Marcus Mariota for a hot minute. So we'll kind of see with a full year of Ryan Tannehill what that offense looks like. And I kind of want to get you guys out on this is, you know, when we're looking at that, you know, 20 and down tight ends, is there somebody that you're really targeting as a late tight end flyer that you guys are trying to get? John, you want to start this one off?
Yeah, late time. I mean, I feel like he's shot up in the boards a lot, but at the beginning, when I first started in this offseason, it was definitely Gesicki is who I was trying to target. But I think he's kind of shot up a little bit from where
Yeah,
he
he's
was.
already at 10.
Yeah, I think he started the offseason like 18 or something like that, and he's kind of shot up. So other than Hawkinson would probably be one I would probably try to hit, but it would be like the last. I would just hope he'd fall to me real late. Other than that, there's a couple other ones that I don't plan on drafting him a tight end early this year. I just plan on streaming or taking some shots. But Chris Herndon, someone that interests me just because, I mean, they don't have a definite wide receiver number one. Who knows who's going to be there? Someone's got to catch a ball. I mean, Chris Herndon, when he's healthy, I mean, he's had the same problems as other guys. But if he's healthy, yeah, he'll produce. So, I mean, he's someone I'm looking to draft. Because if I can get him in real late rounds and he does stay healthy, I think that he'll be there and finish in at least the top 15 tight end. I mean, easily. So he's someone I'm looking at. And then other than that, Irv Smith Jr. would be the only other two I'd really be focused on in my drafts.
I like that. And Z, who are you kind of thinking for around a late tight end flyer?
Irv Smith is my guy this year. I mean, I'm going all in on Irv Smith this year. I'm just gonna wait and hold out. I'm gonna pretty much just go past Fant, just let them all go, and just wait for Irv Smith to come to me. I mean, that Gary Kubiak offense, where Irv Smith is, and that Gary Kubiak offense, the way they're paired together is it's a great match. Like Owen Daniels, when he was with the Houston Texans under Gary Kubiak, the pass catching tight end in that offense averaged 755 yards a season. We're already seeing reports of them experimenting with Irv Smith on the outside. When you watch Irv Smith play, he runs routes. You know, he'll run particular routes just like a wide receiver. You know, he can stop at the stem of his route and just break whichever way. I mean, there was some good footage of him I saw on Twitter where he looked just like a wide receiver. That guy is going to be the pass catching tight end in that Minnesota offense. Don't think that Kyle. They're not going to match each other's production like they did last year with Stefanski. Irv Smith will be used with Stephon Diggs out. There will be opportunities for Irv Smith to outproduce his ADP vastly. I don't know if he'll reach 755 yards. I'm not going to be surprised if he reaches 700 yards and gets close to that mark, but I do have high expectations for him going into his second year.
I agree. That's a great one. And another guy that I feel like he might slip in some drafts, so it's kind of a draft-by-draft basis, is Blake Jarwin, who's actually going 19. I said 20 and above, but I do like Blake Jarwin. You do worry about the mouths to feed over there, but I know Dallas really likes him. And to go outside of the 20s, a guy that I really like is Eric Ebron. Yeah, I'm a Pittsburgh guy, but, you know, Ben Roethlisberger likes big targets. You know, that's why they got, Vance McDonald when they traded for him. You know, he wanted Plexico Burress. He loves big targets, and Eric Ebron is exactly that. We saw what he did with Andrew Luck when he had a really great quarterback. He had by far the best year of his career. So that's a guy that I'm definitely targeting at 22. And if you're looking to get a late tight end guy and maybe another late tight end guy with some upside, and I would go with a Will Dissly. I liked what he did last year before injury, and I feel like that's a guy, take him, stash him late, and he could end up when, the second half of the season being a top 12 tight end. So I do like Dissly as a late flyer. And then the last guy I kind of want to mention, who I could be completely wrong, but like I said, I'm a Steeler guy, so I constantly watch the AFC North more than any other division. And this guy is one of the most talented tight ends in the league for a while, just cannot stay on the field, and that's Tyler Eifert. And he's in Jacksonville. You have Conley on the outside. You have Chark on the outside. You have Dede working in the slot. I think there's going to be room for Tyler Eifert to work. And we saw the one season when he was fully healthy, he absolutely murdered it, man. I don't remember what he finished. I want to say he was a top 3, maybe even a top 2 tight end in the league, had a ton of touchdowns. I do like Tyler Eifert. I think he's great in the red zone, and he's going 33rd. You know what I mean? So it's a super late pick, but that's a guy that I would be taking and stashing just in case. And you know what? If he turns out where he's not great after 3 weeks, cut him. You know, it's not a huge loss because I'm probably not going to get a lot of great talent around there. But I do feel like this year, more than a lot of other years in the past, there's a lot of tight ends on the board late. Even I kind of like Nick Boyle at 46th tight end. Mark Andrews goes down. We know they're going to have tight ends on the field. So, like, why not get Nick Boyle and just put him on your bench and kind of, I mean, in a sick, sadistic way for fantasy football, hope for an injury so your boy Boyle gets some PT.
I was tilting so hard when he went in our fantasy league because I was talking about him on Twitter. I think I started a little thread about him, and then, like, by coincidence, he went. I think somebody in our league saw me talking about him. They're like, "Oh yeah, Nick Boyle," and took him in our league. And I was like, "Oh man, I should have never opened my mouth." And the same thing happened with Caden Smith, which is why I started tilting. And yeah, man, because I was like, "Oh yeah, Caden Smith, Evan Ingram's gonna get injured. Just get Caden Smith." But because Caden Smith, he's a very deep tight end kind of stash guy. You can just hold on to him, and I don't want Evan Ingram to get injured. I want to see him produce.
Sure.
I want to see him do what he does. But if he does go down, Caden Smith is also another good guy. And one more guy I want to add, Ian Thomas. Thomas, he's a great athlete. The guy can produce. He had some concentration issues. He just had a few issues. If he can work on those things, if he worked on those things, which I do believe he did, watch out for that guy, Ian Thomas.
I like it. And guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you click like and subscribe. Show us some love. Go follow my guys on Twitter. And we appreciate, your support and your views. So definitely drop us a sub, and we'll see you guys next time.